And hello, welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren Jaime. Today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough in New York City. Coming up, we'll discuss the rising trend of book bans and explore the efforts that are being made to defend intellectual freedom. After that, we explore a powerful exhibition bridging the past and present, shining a light on a country caught in a cycle of violence, resilience, and transformation. Then we'll talk about the impactful programs offered by the largest girls' leadership organization in New York City, reaching thousands of girls across all 5 boroughs. And next, we'll delve into the importance of integrating mental health support into schools, as well as learning about how transformative services are provided by this essential program. Finally, we're discussing some simple precautions you can take to enjoy the outdoors safely from disease-carrying insects and birds. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren Jaime. You're now watching Open, a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on Eminence channels. You can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, some things have been going on throughout the past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. And we kick off with community news. The New York Life donated money to Scan Harbor to support essential after-school programs and resources for middle schoolers. Our BronxNet reporter, Chris Camilla, has a story.
The New York Life Foundation is donating $100,000 to nonprofit human and social service organization Scan Harbor, the largest youth service provider in Harlem and the South Bronx. Organization officials, including president of the New York Life Foundation, Heather Nestle, presented the donation to Scan Harbor representatives ahead of the Yankees' third-to-last home game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Made possible by their Strikeout Series partnership with the New York Yankees, this donation goes towards essential after-school programming and resources for Bronx-based middle schoolers, aligning with the Foundation's focus on optimizing education.
We're both big supporters of quality after-school programming that helps to bridge the divide for kids that, may not have access to these kinds of programs, but it helps them to stay in school, it helps them to get life skills, and it helps them get engaged in things that they might not normally get engaged in.
The investment reflects New York Life's commitment to positively impacting communities and helping individuals and families work towards a secure and healthy lifestyle. Gratefully receiving the check, Scan Harbor representatives say the donation makes a big impact on improving their educational programs and mental health support, especially for mentoring to help at-risk youth build brighter futures.
It's incredible to be presenting this check to Scan Harbor, which is an organization that serves so many young people here in the Bronx. Great partner of the New York Yankees, now a great partner of New York Life.
In Yankee Stadium, BronxNet Community Television, I'm Chris Camilla.
And thank you, Chris. In other news, New York City is a city that never sleeps, but in recent years, it's also the city where domestic crimes are running rampant. By the end of the month, it's believed that at least 5 women in New York City will be murdered by their partner. Our BronxNet reporter, Brittany Scholar, brings us the details.
It's the city that never sleeps, but in recent years, it is also the city where domestic crimes run rampant. By the end of this month, at least 5 women in New York City will be murdered by their partner.
That is every single week.
ahead of the 24th annual Brides March, which was founded after the death of Gladys Ricard, who her ex-boyfriend murdered on the day of her wedding. Assembly member Septimo gathered with organizations to draw attention to this horrific cause. Ricard's story is just one of thousands, and now it's time for change.
Every chance we get to raise awareness around domestic violence, we need to be there.
The Brides March serves as a catalyst for change from the horrific stories and effects of domestic violence, like Ariana Reyes Gomez, who was murdered right here in the building behind me.
The organization aims to pay tribute to Ricard, disseminate the stigma of domestic violence in the Latino community, and inspire communities worldwide to assemble their own march. Helping align with these goals was a $50,000 donation by the assembly member, who says education is a key component of decreasing these rates.
We have a lot of work to do in our homes, a lot of work to do in educating our young people.
Looking ahead, the Brides March will continue to work toward helping victims and getting down to the root cause of domestic violence in hopes that 5 turns to 0.
We're really trying to get to that nucleus of how we treat each other better as men and women and families.
Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler.
And thank you, Brittany. In health news now, the New Muslim Community Network is hosting an informational workshop discussing how healthy kids' meals are being served in restaurants. Our BronxNet reporter, Kyrie Moody, brings us the story.
The Muslim Community Network hosts an informational workshop discussing healthy kids' meals at the Huntington Free Library in Westchester Square. After the information session, they gave away fruits and vegetables to attendees.
The Bronx is a place that we have a lot of these statistics of being number one, but for all these unhealthy statistic categories, whether it's obesity, whether it's asthma, whether it's diabetes. This bill is to change that. It's to make sure that we're starting from young. Kids have healthy meal options in the restaurants they love to go to.
MCN, along with other elected officials here in the Bronx, are looking to pass a legislation that was put in the city council by Councilmember Kevin C. Riley for restaurants to have a certain requirement on their kids' menu.
This legislation basically would require that restaurants that serve kids' meals in New York City would offer at least 2 meals that meet certain nutrition requirements, including limits on calories, sodium, added sugars, and also include some healthier items like whole grains, fruits, and vegetables.
Moana Yasmin was the interpreter for the event. Events like these are important to have information available in all languages.
No, it's very important to available in all languages and events like that. Like, I feel like our communities are the people who have been impacted most. Like, anything like political, like we happen, and we're working class people, right? So health is when I think we kind of neglect it in a sense, but we don't want to intentionally because how the system is.
If you want to be a helping hand with the Muslim Community Network, visit their website at mcnny.org. Reporting for BronxNet, Kyrie Moody.
And thank you, Kyrie. That's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We are taking a quick break, but we'll have more open when we return. And welcome back. Across the United States, the freedom to read is under threat, with book bans and censorship hitting record highs in recent years. Now, this alarming trend not only limits access to diverse viewpoints, but also threatens one of the core values of American democracy, the right to read freely. Joining me now is the executive board member of the American Library Association and also chief librarian at the Queens Public Library. We're pleased to be joined by Nick Buron. And Nick, thanks for being with us. I'll start off by just getting your sentiment as to what's the mood and the sentiments per se for librarians across the city, and really if you can give us, from a broader perspective.
Thank you very much, Daren, and thank you very much for having me. Like you said, libraries have, of all types have been under threat. In 2023, book bans and challenges have hit an all-time high in this country. And these are public libraries, these are school libraries, these are academic libraries. We are under threat by a vocal minority of people that are trying to take away your freedom to choose the books that you want to read for yourself and your family.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, when we talk about the books that are being banned, we want to know. I mean, we do know what they are. I mean, they're ones that really deal with marginalized voices. LGBTQ community, you've got minorities, communities of color, and books of those natures. Seems like those are the ones that are coming off the shelves. There is a movement that is guaranteed to bring resistance to this. So let's talk about that.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. And libraries and the American Library Association and libraries across the country have always been on the front lines of this. The good thing is, in some ways, is that it is everyone that is getting mobilized to fight this. And United Against Banned Books is an organization that is bringing everyone together so that we can talk as one voice and have all the resources in one place, so that whether it's big organizations or individuals can go to get the resources they need to fight this fight.
Nick, the real crust of the matter is First Amendment. Let's talk about it. I mean, it's the right to really have freedom of speech and to be able to read and people to say what they want to say in books. And this is really the crux of the argument that's making its way through the court system.
You know, and it's ironic in some ways that there are a lot of people who are on this vocal minority talk about freedom, but we talk about freedom. Freedom is the freedom to make your own choices. And, you know, what we say is free people read freely. And, this is a nonpartisan issue about to support the enduring nonpartisan American value that people should be able to read the books that they want to read. And it is under threat, and people are coming together to really understand that this is under fire, but there is hope. There is ways to combat this. And we are very excited to be announcing, a Freedom of Action Day, a Freedom to Read Community Day of Action that will be taking place next week that everyone can participate in.
Let me ask your opinion here, and for those of us just joining us, Nick Buron is our guest here. He's the executive board member of the American Library Association, also chief librarian at the Queens Public Library. What has been the impact, particularly on local libraries, with this, what I call soft censorship?
Now that is it. It is soft censorship because here in New York, I believe that there is more of an acceptance of people who have different values, different cultures, a bit more of acceptance. But that does not mean that there are subtle changes, subtle challenges that take place every day with slight intimidations of our librarians, people taking books from book displays and maybe putting them somewhere else in the library so that other people can't see them. Slight bits of vandalism that might take place. It's small, but it is still something that we combat. It is not what many of our libraries across the country are experiencing, where they have people coming to their school boards and bringing pages and pages of books that they want removed. That takes time, effort, and money from these libraries to have to remove them. And even worse, there are some librarians at schools and at public libraries that are under threat and losing their jobs because they are standing up for this First Amendment value.
When you talk about librarians, I want to talk also about publishers, writers. These are the ones who are writing the books, finding their books on the back shelf somewhere. Sometimes it doesn't even make it into certain libraries and bookstores. What is the impact there when you have writers and publishers? And some people have done life work and case work, and they've done research and put forth the best possible book and writing possible, but yet and still has to face the fact that while it's published, it won't hit the shelves.
That is correct. And so it is, these books are published, they are out there. And in the last 10, 20 years, there's been a wonderful opportunity to hear voices of people and authors that have not otherwise been heard. And to be able to now have that moving backwards and not being able to have them on shelves, is a part of America that we are not hearing. And that is really critical, is that all voices in our community need to be heard. And if somebody is publishing a book, has authored a book, it deserves to be heard by the community, whether it's that specific community that it's being written for, but more importantly, for all communities to hear the voices that are taking place. What we can do is we know that these books are being written in libraries, public libraries, school libraries, academic libraries. We have a responsibility to bring those authors in to work to publicize their works as well. And so it's not just the author that puts their books on the shelf and it's something passive. It is something active that we can do. And when people hear about this, they should go to the library, they should go to their bookstores possibly, and actually check out these books and make them more popular.
Yeah, my mother's been deceased probably about a decade now, but I can hear her voice in my head always talking about going to the library and you get all the information that you need. My sister the same way. There's this free information. All you got to do is make your way to the library. But the reality is, in this present climate, making my way to the library, free information is really being challenged.
And how crazy is that? That the act of going to the library to educate yourself and to hear about all points of view in your community and your country is something that somehow by some people are taken as either something partisan or something that is subversive in some way. It is not. It is the American way. It is the freedom that we value to be able to hear all points of view. And that is the thing that is under threat. And that is something that we can do something about.
Nick, before we go talk about what can the public do to do something about this and how can they play a part in this resistance movement?
So glad you asked, Daren, because on Saturday, October 19th, is the Freedom to Read Community Day of Action. It's where libraries, bookstores, readers, allies across the country are going to unite against banned books and celebrate the power of books and the diverse ideas and points of view that they offer. The three library systems here in New York City, the Queens Public Library, the Brooklyn Public Library, and the New York Public Library, have partnered with the American Library Association, United Against Banned Books, the Association for Rural and Small Libraries, to create this nationwide Freedom to Read Day of Action in support of this enduring, nonpartisan American value. Go to your library on Saturday, October 19th. Read a banned book. Take to social media. And then after that day, go to your local school boards. Go to your local library school boards and speak up when you hear that something is happening, that they are trying to deny you and your family the opportunity to read diverse voices and curtail, the books that you read. Talk to your local officials. Stand up for this whenever you can, because in the end, really, it is only you as an individual that can band together with other individuals and stand together. United Against Banned Books.org will give you all the resources that you need.
Well, Nick, my brother, I've covered a lot of protests locally, nationally, globally, and I'll tell you what, I am so excited for this one right here, the one on books. And so listen, I want to tell our people more information is getting ready to come. Thank you, Nick, for joining us, and certainly best wishes in the future. Now, if you want more information to join Nick, visit the website at uniteagainstbookbans.org/Day of Action. Again, that's taking place on October the 19th. Encouraging you, stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
Hey, creative family. My name is Timothy Coleman, and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx, because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging media makers, your passion lives here.
And welcome back. History often finds itself captured through the lens of those brave enough to document it. El Salvador, I should say, legacy of violence, pairs two monumental photographic projects, completed 3 decades apart, mirroring and informing one another. These images expose the turmoil and survival of El Salvador's people that are past and present, and raise critical questions about the country's path forward. Joining me now is the photojournalist Robert Nickelsberg and Salvadoran documentary photographer Fred Ramos, and we thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for taking the time to really bringing this to light. For somebody who's looking and just says, listen, let's have this coffee table talk, what's this all about, what would you tell them?
Well, in the beginning, the migration traffic really is what kicks this off. And the images that I related in the exhibition were sitting in a box for almost 30 years. And once they were out and edited, it struck a chord how the images from back in the early 1980s resonate to today, to the migration issues along the border and the political ramifications of something that happened 40 years ago.
And when we talk about El Salvador, obviously a country that has had great prominence, but at the same time has also seen great challenges. From your work, obviously Fred comes into the picture. Talk to me a little bit, Fred, about your perspective.
Hi. Well, yeah. Well, Salvador is a very important moment right now because despite all the information that you know about the arrest of cast members, Salvador is again in a dictatorship. So I think this is a very important thing for the exhibit because the dictatorship was the beginning of the civil war. Then the gangs took over the country very quickly after the civil war, and now we are another in a dictatorship. So I think it's very alarmed.
Yeah, Robert, you will be having a photo exhibit for the public to actually take a look. And when they look at your photos and they take a look and see Fred's photos as well, I guess some things that are going to come to mind are questions about foreign policy. What do the United States foreign policy, for to be exact, what are you hoping that people actually are able to see / take away as they look at these photos?
Well, in the context of the early 1980s, we had the Cold War, we had post-Vietnam War period. We also had a great amount of domestic turmoil with the civil rights movement. So given those elements, what we see today with the Middle East issues and the ramifications of U.S. foreign policy on how it affected migration along the Mexican-U.S. border, it's still relevant to today, what happened 40 years ago. And I saw this again in 2021 with the collapse of the Afghan regime and the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan. A lot of these things recur, and the way this exhibition is curated with Fred's contemporary work and my archival work, I think the public can get a good idea that a lot of things hold together even though there's 40 years apart.
Yeah. Fred, talk to me a little bit about El Salvador. Obviously a rise in gangs, quality of life dramatically changing, and you document it.
Yeah, I mean, well, the exhibition shows the long legacy of violence, but I think that when we talk about violence in El Salvador, we also talk about justice. And in the exhibit, so you can basically understand the consequence of the absence of justice. Many of the victims that are in the exhibit that Bob and me will photograph, they are still waiting for justice. I think this is very important thing of the country of the exhibit too.
Yeah. Robert, let me go back to you for a second because you've worked for Time Magazine as a photographer for more than 30 years. You've seen it all, but when it comes to El Salvador, put it in perspective for us for how this compares to the work that you've seen thus far.
Well, this period, at least for my work, is the foundation period for me in understanding the narrative of foreign policy, domestic policy, and how a country can be influenced by US foreign policy. There are certain responsibilities that I feel go with that narrative, and a lot of them weren't met. A lot of the military aid that went into El Salvador in this 12-year civil war, then all of a sudden was turned off. And reconstruction really never happened. There was no closure. The people in El Salvador still suffer the consequences of that civil war. And now they're facing asylum issues when they come across the border. So this legacy, and the exhibition is called Legacy of Violence, continues to this day. There might be a bit of a respite in El Salvador right now, but that is temporary in my opinion. I think Fred also sees that very clearly.
Yeah. Fred, I'll ask you the question. You know, Robert talks about the archival side, knowing the fact that he's been, you know, in it for a few more years. You come from a more contemporary perspective. But yet and still, when you bring the archival and then you bring the contemporary perspective, there is a meeting in the middle because you can still say today, a lot of the things that exist today with regards to El Salvador are some of the facts and photos that were uncovered when Robert was first taking them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's like the combination of both works are really interesting because you can see like the circle of the violence in El Salvador. And I think this is very important because you can understand how the violence just transform when there are no justice.
When people walk away from this exhibition, and we want to say that it's going on until October the 27th, when people walk away from the exhibition, I'll start with you. Tell me first, Fred, what do you want people to take away from it?
Sorry, say it again, sorry.
When people walk away from the exhibition, what do you want people to take away from looking at these photos?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because at the end, El Salvador is not an important country in the geopolitics, but I think that the consequence of the violence are very obvious in the United States through the migration. But also, I think that the other thing that is important is at the end that El Salvador is like for me, it's like a laboratory of the violence. So, well, a lot of politicians experiment with politics, with policies to control the violence, but at the end, I think that didn't work. So I think that this is, for me, it's a very important thing.
Yeah. Robert, you get the last word. Tell me your perspective on what you want people to take away.
I think with the exhibition, this is a very democratic way, an open public way for people to see the project that we put together. You don't have to buy the book. You can see it on the walls. And that exposes it to what we're still facing today. And it's important to know about the past in order to predict the future.
Well, we got to leave it there. Robert Nickelsberg and Fred Ramos, thank you so much. They're at the Bronx Documentary Series. And then if you want to find out more information, visit the website at bronxdoc.org. As again, the show goes on all the way till October the 27th. Encouraging you, don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
We're going to start the show right now. This is my favorite part. Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, this is Angel, and I am one of the instructors for the in-studio production. Here at BronxNet, we offer classes that can help you elevate, expand, and start your television career. All you have to do is sign up at bronxnet.org/education. For the past 7 years, I have been in various productions, spanning from talk shows, independent films, news reports, art displays, teachings, musical performances, and many more. Ain't that right, Angel? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Angel. There are a lot of creative individuals that we're just waiting to sign up for the class. And if I may, can I also express Thank you, Angel. That's all the time we have left. Visit BronxNet.org/education and become a producer by taking the course. The class I offer is also in English, en español y también bilingüe. Nos vemos en la próxima clase.
And we are back in a world where every girl has her own dreams, talents, and curiosities. The Girl Scouts offers a unique platform for exploration and growth. Now, with the belief of Girl Scouting is by girls, for girls, this organization fosters an environment of courage, confidence, and character, empowering girls to make a difference in their communities. And here now to tell us more, we've got the Girl Scouts of Greater New York's interim CEO, Karen Lundgard, and then Bronx Girl Scouts troop leader, Tamika Morales. And thank you for letting the little boy in the gang. You know, I just appreciate it. Glad to have you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Thank you. So, Karen, for those who may not be so familiar, give us a little bit more about the mission and the vision of the Girl Scouts.
Yeah, so the Girl Scouts of Greater New York serves every borough within New York City, and within every community, we're building girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. Our girls focus on 4 key areas, including STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. We have a wide, robust program offering there, as well as outdoors. We're so lucky to have a beautiful 425-acre camp in upstate New York in Dutchess County. Life skills, so general leadership, including our highest award, which is the Gold Award, which girls have to earn by taking action within their community, a minimum of 80 hours for that. And of course, business and entrepreneurship, where girls are learning basic business schools through our cookie program, which I'm sure you're most familiar with. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, there's some young ladies in my church, and they just, I spend a lot of money on cookies, so I feel like I'm getting my money's worth in this segment. Tamika, tell me about this, because obviously for you, a little close to home too, right? Because you grew up in the Girl Scouts.
Yes.
Brownie, I think?
Yes, I was. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so now here you are. What was the experience like for you? And I mean, obviously to stick with it as an adult and say, listen, this is an organization that has sown some seeds into my life. Talk to me about that impact of what the Girl Scouts has meant to you.
So I came from a single mom home of all girls, right? So it was offered in the community center around the corner from where we lived, and I remember just, Mom, when are we going to Girl Scouts? When are we going to Girl Scouts? I joined the hula hoop contest at that point. I think I got third place. But I remember the feeling of just being heard, because when you're the oldest of many little ones, you're not always heard at home. So yeah, it just that one impact I wanted to, when I got the opportunity, I wanted to bring it, the same feeling to even my own daughter.
Yeah. And Karen, there's this feeling, I guess, as you said, Tamika speaks to it, belonging, right? There's a sense of belonging that the organization gives, and then also the opportunity for outdoor learning and, you know, really becoming creative and finding your own. For yourself, you're the interim director now, right? So talk to us a little bit about your vision and what you'd like to see happen.
Yeah, I mean, all of the program focal areas that I spoke to before, but especially the outdoors, you know, especially living in a city like New York, we face a lot of environmental factors, right? There's a lack of green spaces, and there are health issues associated with these environmental issues. And we are so incredibly lucky to have that beautiful space up at Camp Kaufman. And we have a really robust outdoor progression. So whether a Girl Scout is ready to just explore her park in her backyard, or she's ready to explore the wilderness for a few days and actually spend the night in the woods, right? We're going to meet her where she is and ensure that not only does she have the confidence to do that and have the skills to do that, but also become an advocate for the environment back in her community.
Someone out there may not be so familiar with the Girl Scouts. I know that, you know, I have a cousin that was speaking to this issue just a little while ago, talking about the Girl Scouts. This is an elite organization that you have to qualify to get in. Tell us about what is the criteria for somebody to become a Girl Scout?
You just want to join. I think.
Right.
You just want to join. The Girl Scouts actually had reached out to my principal, and I was already a PTA president, so already doing that volunteer thing, and it was just so easy to just sign up. And it's kind of like they got the moms of the community really interested, and we're the ones who are driving it. We're the ones who are are out there with our daughters, and it just really, and then as a troop leader, you kind of like, you really take a deep dive into your own community. It was just so easy, and the council office provides so much support to get us successful.
And Tamika, you have your own troop now, right?
I do. Yes. I'm one of 5 other troop co-leaders, so we're co-leaders. It's not just one, it's all of us. And each of us play a different role. We've got 69 girls enrolled at the moment. We're always looking for more. We're actually doing some recruiting. We have some middle schools in the area. They don't know that we're kind of new. I feel like I've been doing it forever. But yeah, we're from K to 12, we can be K to 12. We got our first year where we're doing our 9th graders. Our 8th graders went up to 1 level. It's amazing. My daughter's in it, and I couldn't have asked for anything better opportunity.
And Karen, the ability to really shape young ladies' lives. I mean, I think that's paramount, right? That for some people, it's their first exposure to the outdoors. I think about, those who are in the inner city. Sometimes we don't get the exposure. But what does that exposure mean in the lives of some of these young people?
Yeah. For our Girl Scouts, we've seen, especially up at camp, we will see girls that come up for the first time, and this may be the first time that they've ever been outside where there are no street lights, right? So they're walking into a completely dark environment, and we're telling them, there's nothing to be scared of here, right? Their association with the outdoors may be completely based on what they've seen in horror movies. So we're explaining the benefits of nature and how important it is, right? A lot of times, especially living in a city, we're told that insects are things that are supposed to be killed, right? We have roaches in our homes, things like that, that are to be exterminated. Up at camp, they're learning that bugs are beneficial, right? They're an important part. They ensure that we have food, right? They're part of our ecosystem and an important piece of that. So explaining to the girls and showing them how nature is so beneficial and critical to them is key. Yeah.
I know a lot of the work that you thrive on is volunteerism as well, and being able to have these volunteers. Talk to us about if someone wants to volunteer, what's required, and how they go from there.
I think you just need a passion, right? So I had a passion to be a teacher, but I found my niche in facilities operations, and I kind of like, very, organized in ways like that. But just a passion for being around the youth, leading the youth, seeing how they become the community that you want to live in, and then an appreciation for the outdoors, I think, is another part of it too.
Yeah. How do people get in touch and get connected if they want to volunteer, be a part, or just have a Girl Scout or a volunteer?
Absolutely. And as Tamika said, and this incredible volunteer here, as she said, if the mission of building girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place, if that resonates with you, we have a space for you. We need volunteers, especially volunteers like Tamika, who are dedicating time weekly, bi-weekly to meet with their troops. But also, if you don't have that time, that's okay too. We have a space for you to support at our events, with our cookies, up at camp. And if you go to girlscoutsnyc.org, you can learn more.
Yeah. I did the Boy Scouts for a hot minute. I want to say a hot minute. It was hot. We went up to Camp Alpine. Take a boy from the hood, you put him up there with the bugs and all that. Just wasn't flowing. But I tried. Thank you.
We're gonna get you back up.
Get me back up. Listen, I'm older, wiser, and better now. See, let's get me up there. Karen, great to meet you. Tamika, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Continue the great work going on at the Girl Scouts and shaping young people's lives. We appreciate you. All right, listen now, for more information, look, don't let my story intimidate you. Get out there. Visit the website, girlscoutsnyc.org. Find out about it, and if you want to volunteer, of course, they'll be glad to pass that information on, and you pass that information on, and they'll be glad to connect with you. We also tell you we want to stay connected to you, so don't go anywhere. We've got more open coming up right after this.
What's up, creative family? Discover your voice with BronxNet Community Media classes. Are you ready to bring your ideas to life? At BronxNet, we offer television production classes for community members ages 18 and over, empowering you to share your vision with the world. Get certified in field production, in-studio production, and our new exciting addition, podcast production. Once certified, you can create your own show to air on one of our 6 TV channels. It all starts with our free Unleash Your Ideas Masterclass, designed to help you plan your show idea and set you up for success on your production journey. This class is offered at the beginning of each month for your convenience. Our dedicated BronxNet team is here to support, encourage, and uplift you every step of the way. Join us and become a part of the creative force that engages and inspires the Bronx community and beyond. Sign up today and start your media journey with BronxNet. Visit bronxnet.org/education to learn more and register. Let's create something amazing together.
And we are back. As we move in the fall, it's crucial to remember that lurking just outside are disease-carrying bugs and birds that can ruin your family's fall fun. The College of American Pathologists is stepping into the spotlight, educating the public about protecting themselves from disease-carrying insects and birds, because knowledge is the best defense. Here now to discuss more is Dr. Bobbi Pritt, who is the chair of the College of American Pathologists Council on Scientific Affairs. And Dr. Pritt, glad to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yes, and so when we talk about this here, in our last segment, if I don't know if you heard, we had the Girl Scouts and they were talking about bugs and we were talking about all these great things. But when we talk about, really now on the inside of protecting ourselves, there is some things that we need to know because there are a lot of disease-carrying insects out there.
Right. I totally agree that many bugs are very beneficial, but there are a few out there that can cause disease in humans, and some of them can be life-threatening. And the bugs we talk about primarily are ticks and mosquitoes. Now, ticks are important. They transmit Lyme disease. That's the #1 vector-borne disease in the United States. So when you go out in the woods, whether you're a Girl Scouts or a hiker or you're just cleaning up your backyard, you need to be aware if there are ticks in your environment and how to prevent tick-borne or tick bites. And then mosquitoes as well. They can transmit viruses like West Nile virus, which can be fatal. Now, talking about birds, we're talking primarily there about highly pathogenic avian influenza, otherwise known as bird flu, and that is circulating in wild birds, but also we're seeing very large outbreaks in our poultry and our dairy cattle. And so that is also something to keep in mind.
When we talk about this, there are preventive measures that we can take, right? So what are some of the best ways that we can get down with best practices and some preventive strategies that can really help the average person?
For tick and mosquito bites, it's relatively straightforward. You need to be aware of when the ticks and mosquitoes are particularly active. For mosquitoes, that's dawn and dusk, if you can avoid those times, or be sure you're wearing a good mosquito repellent when you go outdoors. Ticks you're going to find in the tall grasses and in the leaf litter and brush. So if you're going to be exposed to those areas, wear your repellent. Something that has 30% DEET is highly recommended. Cover up exposed clothing, and then when you go indoors, make sure that you're checking yourself and your pets for ticks that they may have carried in with them. You want to remove those ticks right away. Now, for bird flu, we're seeing it in exposed dairy and poultry. So it's really avoiding animals that may be ill. And of course, right now we're seeing a lot of state fairs and petting zoos. And so it's really important to follow all the hand hygiene and also know if you're going to be around animals, it's important to have that in as a consideration.
For yourself, you see this work all the time and you're familiar with this, but somebody at home, they have this experience. It's uncommon to them. Somebody gets ill, somebody's not feeling well. What advice do you give for somebody who does get ill with regards to this?
It's important to see your doctor right away. And when you go and see your physician, you want to talk about any potential exposures you may have had. If you just spent time, for example, as part of a school trip touring an area where there are dairy cows, or if you were spending a lot of time outdoors and had a lot of mosquito bites or potential tick exposure, you want to share that with your healthcare provider so that that individual can order the correct tests, which actually would go to a laboratory like mine, overseen by a pathologist, and then that information can go back to the physician so you can get treated appropriately. So don't panic, but go to your physician, go early. Some diseases can be treated early on, and that can improve the outcome.
You spoke volumes there when you talk about panicking, because I think when somebody occurs this kind of illness, it's panic. You don't normally have this. This occurs, and now all of a sudden panic flows into the life of people. But great advice there. But on the outside of that, if I'm looking for some resources, trying to find some helpful, much-needed information that can guide me through this, where are some of the best places that I can go to access this?
you want to make sure you have a really good trusted source of information. Two that I highly recommend are the websites from the College of American Pathologists and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The CDC website is cdc.gov. Lots of great information, including diseases that may be circulating in your area. And then the College of American Pathologists has a website designed for the general public. It's called yourpathologist.org. Again, these are great resources you can trust.
And so as we look out during this time of year, obviously a lot of people have these concerns. And what are some of the most common mistakes people make when it comes to this?
I think not taking the preventative measures. You shouldn't come in and be covered with mosquito bites. If you are, then you're not wearing a good mosquito repellent. And then not following the instructions on the mosquito repellent. There are some mosquito repellents that are not effective for very long, and you have to reapply them every 30 minutes. You want to find a good repellent that lasts for at least several hours, and then make sure you read the instructions when you apply it.
I hear a lot about oil of lemon eucalyptus. Good for you?
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorites. And the studies from the Environmental Protection Agencies show that it's just about as effective as DEET. So that's a good alternative. And then there's also something called permethrin, which you can spray on your clothing and your gear, your shoes, your socks. So a variety of different options out there if you don't like the way DEET smells.
Yeah. And so, as you say, the variety of different options, obviously, you could use it on skin, but then also clothes as well, right? Both?
Permethrin you wouldn't put on skin, but you'd put it on your clothes and gear. And in fact, if I'm going outdoors, say I'm going to spend a day raking leaves and cleaning up outdoors, I'll spray my clothes the night before, really get them thoroughly sprayed, let them dry. It dries odorless, and then you know that you have that protection, but I'll still put something on my skin.
All right, Dr. Bobbi Pritt, thank you for the much needed information. I think families and the public has some information and some resources. Thanks much for being with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
All righty. Listen, now if you want more information, visit the website at yourpathologist.org. We encourage you, please don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up after this.
Only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. "55% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. "34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit BronxNet.org to learn more.
And welcome back. In the United States, approximately 1 in 6 youth ages 6 to 17 experiences a mental health disorder each year, with half of all mental health conditions emerging by the age of 14. The JCCA's Westchester Day Treatment Program provides essential mental health services during the school day, alleviating the challenges parents face in accessing treatment, but also emphasizing the importance of integrating mental health support within educational settings. And joining me now is the supervisor of JCCA's Westchester Day Treatment Program, Andrea Cimino. And thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, good morning. Yes, thank you for having me.
And when we talk about mental health support, particularly amongst young people, I mean, as the times are going on and we're looking at, we're living amongst some crazy times.
Oh, for sure.
And in addition to crazy times, I think the family dynamic has changed, life, the world, the whole thing.
Absolutely.
You're finding more and more people coming through your doors?
Oh, my goodness, absolutely. And I believe, after the pandemic, or actually during the pandemic,
people had more of a greater awareness of mental health. I think, the isolation really promoted people to start having, thoughts about mental health, thinking about it, understanding what was going on with them. So yes, I feel like more people are more aware and are looking for treatment.
So now to see mental health professionals in schools and really being able to provide those services, it's a great thing.
Oh,
We know
absolutely.
that it wasn't always there.
No, not
And
at
now
all.
it's there. So talk to me a little bit about the role of mental health services in schools.
Yeah, so it is absolutely huge. We are actually the only day treatment program in Westchester County. And even though we serve Westchester County, we serve kiddos everywhere. So we serve kiddos from all 5 boroughs of New York, a lot of kiddos from the Bronx, from Orange, Dutchess, Putnam, all over. And the kiddos will just be here in the school day. We pull them out of their classes for sessions. They meet with their therapist. They may have individual therapy, group therapy. They can even meet with their psychiatrist, receive their medications as needed. And again, all without the parents having to make appointments, all without having to go home and then go back out again. They could just be right in school and just be able to, they have a safe place to talk. They know where to go.
Absolutely. What does it mean to be able to have mental health services in the school system, given the fact that it's an intervention of sorts, right?
Oh,
that really helps out the student and also the parent in several ways.
No, absolutely. I think having someone in the school to really give that support, we're not just seeing your kiddo once a week out of context. We're seeing them in their school environment. We're seeing them pretty much throughout the day. I don't only see the kids I work with, I see all of the kids in the school. So they, can start to see us as familiar faces. We say good morning, hey, do you need anything before you go to class? Anything like that. So really showing that, we're here every day, we provide that support, and giving an extra level of comfort and getting to see the behaviors right as they're happening, I think is huge.
Also a huge win, I think, is for families, right?
Oh,
Given the fact that you have now a place that you can access the support and get that much needed help. We know, particularly communities of color and communities that are challenged, there are this access to resources. To have this resource, talk to me about the valuable asset of having a resource like that when we know that access to resources is a challenge in a lot of marginalized communities.
No, absolutely. It is huge. It is huge. The fact that the kids can receive these services in school, it eliminates first the barrier of transportation, right? The parents don't have to pay money for public transportation or gas money. Their kiddos are right in school. So they get there, by taking the school bus or however they would get to school regardless. So transportation is eliminated. Additionally, many families don't need to worry about childcare. Like, for example, if they're taking one of their other kids to an appointment and they have kiddos left at home, that barrier is removed by the kids getting their services right in school. So it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah. We talked at the top about many people coming through your doors, right? How are you able to really deal with this ongoing demand of more and more services?
I really wish, we could provide more and more. We do as much as we can, but our wait list, unfortunately, is ever growing. There is a scarcity of mental health services. As I said, we're the only day treatment in Westchester County. So we try to help as many people as we can, but there will be kiddos on the wait list, unfortunately, for even months at a time. So it can be very, very difficult to meet the needs of the communities.
We hear the word treatment, and how do you unpack that for somebody who's out there who may not be so familiar? What modes of treatment do you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of different trauma therapies that we use, and a lot of these therapies can be used just to challenge negative ways of thinking or working to improve yourself or even unpacking some deeper traumas, right? I'm trained in EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a specific type of trauma therapy. That is something that, when you address the trauma that you have experienced, whether or not you are aware of it, you may be also addressing your actions, your behaviors, your thoughts on situations simply by going deeper into what has happened to you.
Yeah. So for people who want the resources, how do you go about accessing resources when you're in the school environment?
Yeah, so I believe, talking to your school counselors is such a great way of seeing what is out there. Unfortunately, not all schools have day treatment programs as much as I wish. I think that would be a huge resource in every school. But seeing really what is out there, what is available, utilizing websites, Psychology Today, social media, different areas where you can start to look up different resources in your community.
With the work that you do, obviously you've seen a lot of great success stories. Talk to me about the impact that you feel that it makes since going into these schools?
It's huge. It really is huge. You know, I think about a lot of my kiddos. There's one in particular I'm thinking about. I've worked with this child for years, and he would be unable to even tell me what mood he was in, whether even if it was happy or annoyed. We weren't even able to talk about emotions. Now this kiddo will sit with me, will talk to me about what's going on, what has been stressing him, and he will even suggest coping skills on his own, which is huge. Even if I would say the word coping skills, he'd be looking in every direction other than me. Right. So getting to see that growth, getting to see him being able to handle his triggers, his stressors, and be safer with them. That's been huge. And it's like that for so many of our kiddos.
And that's got to be the win for you, right?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, to see the progress and down through the years, you know, from the time that we start to where we are, you can be able to chart successful growth.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. That's why they're coming here. That's what we're here for. That's, you know, how we're here to help.
How have families received this, given the fact that you have this resource available, right? So are some families a little reluctant, or how does it go?
Most families are pretty open. Like I said, we can make their lives easier by removing the barrier of transportation, you know, by working through their work hours, right? We're taking the kiddos while they're at work, while the kids are in school. A lot of families are really receptive. We also will provide family therapy too, and I would say a lot of families are involved in family therapy. They want to understand their kiddo, and more importantly, they want to help their kiddo. So we get to, you know, connect with them, tell them, you know, what can we do? How can we support? And more importantly, what can they as the parent do?
You know, there's been this huge stigma that's been associated with therapy and services. Have you seen that? And have you had to, yeah.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
okay, right.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. So have you had to climb a lot of high hurdles there?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, just continuously showing that I'm there, you know, I'm not here to pass judgment, I'm here to help. I think just keeping that consistency and just continuing to show that positivity, that warmth. You know, I've seen a lot of families come around. Of course, there can be resistance, right? And understandably so. Some people, they've had bad experiences. You know, when people hear social worker, they may think, you know, CPS, ACS, all kinds of different negative connotations. But you know, I think once they get to know the program, kind of see, oh, okay, they are here to help the kids, you know, and more importantly, the kids like us most of the time. I think that that's huge.
Yeah. It's huge. So for people who want to find out more information, access to resources, stuff like that, where do they go?
Absolutely. So they can go to our website, jccany.org. You can look at our social media, including Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, JCCA-NY.
Hard to believe that we're almost at the holidays, right?
I know. This year has flown by.
But has it given you a sense of like a great on-ramp in terms of like the work that you're doing because things are going by so quickly?
Exactly. Yes, it has. You know, the months definitely fly by, especially in the school setting. And, you know, we're also helping the kids start to prep for the winter coming up. You know, seasonal affective disorder is very much a real thing. You know, the sun is setting earlier and earlier. It can be really, really difficult for people's mental health. So being able to support them through the holidays, right? Because even though holidays are mostly a happy experience, they can bring up feelings of grief or feelings of sadness. You know, it's not just a one size fits all. So being able to support through those difficult feelings, regardless, you know, as we move into the holidays is huge.
Well, great work that you're doing, Andrea. Thank you so much for the
you.
work that you're doing, impacting young people in such a tremendous way. And sometimes people don't say thank you. Just want to say thank you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, Daren. Thank you so much.
Andrea Cimino, our guest here. Now, listen, as she mentioned, give more information. You can visit their website at jccany.org. And there you can find out how you can get the resources and also the help that you may need. Listen, we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files Channel 2133, or watch us anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. And always, you can catch a brand new episode of Open with Rena Valentine on Friday. This wraps up this episode for us. I am Daren Jaime saying make sure to keep this channel wide open, saying take care. God bless.